Leland going to University of Richmond. I'm from Richmond, so small world. This guy's going around the world and doing amazing things. Leland, I got nothing on you, brother.
And you were an NFL player too, so they both.
For a minute.
For a minute.
For a minute.
For a minute. Well, I thank you. You're so brave. Look, I mean, you're two men in this room. I mean, that's pretty brave of you to come here.
Well, it's an honor to be here, obviously, with all you ladies and all you makers. So it's
all
exciting.
I can say is somebody must have raised you right.
Makers making makers, right?
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about the women in your life who influenced you and made you so great.
Yeah, my mom, obviously she made me, right? But she was so nurturing. Her name is Grace, and she lived a life with grace. And I think about my mom, my sister. I think about Katie Coleman, who's here, who is one of my sheroes, right? And then Peggy Whitson, who's in space right now, was the first female commander of the space station, who was gracious and kind and said, and we broke bread in space. And so all these people led the way and helped inspire and motivate me as women.
It's amazing. Russell?
On my end, I had my mom and my grandmother. Those are the two that really, really inspired me in a major, major way. My mom, super spiritual woman, a woman that's super brave. I think that you guys probably don't know the story, but my dad passed away. I got drafted in baseball as well. I got drafted on June 8th, 2010. The next day, my dad passed away. And so the whole process of my dad being sick and all that, my mom was just extremely, extremely brave and, you know, working, you know, from 8 to 6 o'clock every day, and then going to pick up my sister. My sister's a tremendous basketball player. She plays at Stanford and is All-American basketball player and all that kind of stuff. And so she's been constantly busy and picking up my sister, and just the constant work that it took for my mom to just to keep bread on the table. And I think that was huge. And then my grandmother's one of my favorite people in the world, Grandma Carolyn. Sierra and I love Carolyn. She's just so much love on her heart. And I think that's the coolest thing about her.
Love, a lot of love in the house.
That's great. So we talk a lot about, you know, these rooms that sometimes we can't get into that you guys have access to. And I'm curious to know how you kind of hold your stance when you're in those rooms, whether it's the locker room, the boardroom, and you may see something that you don't agree with, or you're on the bus and somebody talks about wanting to grab a part of a woman's body, and you know, it's like these moments happen, and I'm sure you've been in places where those moments have happened. What do you do in those situations?
You shut that crap down. I mean, and you've been in a lot of locker rooms, both of us have been in a lot of locker rooms, and I haven't heard a lot of that behavior. Maybe it's more of an outlier than the norm, right?
I would agree with that. I think, you know, in today's age, it's definitely more of an outlier. You know, we don't allow that in our locker room, and I know that's something that's really, really important to us. You know, a lot of us, you know, when we won the Super Bowl, we were the youngest team in the National Football League. So, guys, brand new relationships. Now you look at it, we have, you know, guys with kids, you know, all that kind of stuff. So we really, guys getting married, everything. So I think all of that, we don't allow that. That's unacceptable. So I think that's important to make sure, as he said, shut it down.
Mother, niece, daughter, you know, children that we love and inspire, we get inspired by. Mm-hmm. And for a man to think that they can touch my niece like that, don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Don't even think about it.
Don't even think about it.
And the President of the United States of America, no.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I think it's important that we thank you for that, and for holding your stance, and for not allowing that kind of discourse to go on kind of behind our backs. And I wonder, how do we teach, you both speak to young people and inspire young people. I mean, Russell, I was at Disneyland not long ago, and I think 1 out of every 3 kids had on like a Seahawks jersey with your name. It's amazing. And I remember before I knew you, I wanted you to win in the games because I knew your character. I knew what a good man you were. And I was so happy to see somebody like you kind of influence the youth of America. So, and you work with kids and young girls, and we've seen so much of the work you've done with STEAM. And so how do you encourage this notion of sort of progress and gender equality to help young people follow in your footsteps?
Well, I take my sister, for example. She's a basketball player, but one of the things, she had offers from every college you can imagine. Tremendous basketball player, as I said. But the biggest thing that we always talked about was her education. And and doing everything, because if your knee goes out, if your ankle goes out, and having a backup plan. That's the same thing that I thought when I was going to school. I wasn't as smart as her though. So, you know, I think the biggest thing for her is reaching for her opportunities. And my dad used to always say, reach for the moon, you know, you'll touch the stars. I'm not sure, you probably know better than me. But I think that's so crucial. And having that same perspective, I had the fortunate situation to be able to go to Seattle Children's, you know, every Tuesday. Sierra and I get to go see so many kids, and even the kids who are sick, you know, still trying to tell them, hey, dream big, you know, because it takes one glimpse of hope, one opportunity, and to seize that moment. And as men, I think it's our duty to, one, treat women equal. I think also, two, to give them the same opportunities and to be able to inspire them just as much as we've been inspired by our fathers or our friends or somebody else that we see. And you know, I'm inspired by you. I'm inspired by you by watching what you've been able to do, and to do it at such a high level, to you know, go to Wharton and to graduate from there. That's a big deal, and so that matters.
Thank you.
I think as Russell said, I think the main thing is giving our girls the opportunities. I mean, give them a Barbie doll, but also give them a She-Canic tool set that they can build or create something, and let them know that they can do this just like the guys. And you know, it's a testament to Katie and to Peggy and Sally Ride. I mean, Sally Ride was this first person who Peggy Whitson, when she was in Iowa as a pig farmer, dreaming about becoming an astronaut. Her dream changed to her goal when Sally Ride stepped in and put on the blue flight suit and became an astronaut. So we have to allow our girls to see that there are opportunities for them just like anyone else.
Yes. So I'm going to pull out a few stats here, because we all know that there are gender pay gaps still in sports, in science and technology, and in almost every industry. WNBA players are the league minimum in the NBA in 2016 was close to $500,000, but the WNBA league minimum last summer was $38,000. The highest paid player in the WNBA makes roughly 1/5 that of the lowest paid player in the NBA. And then you see the same thing in soccer. You see the same thing, unfortunately, in STEM careers and technologies. So, you know, there's some people in my life that they kind of like, well, women are equal. Don't say we're not equal, we're equal. But when you look at some of the stats, we still have room to grow. We still have a lot more to do. We're not equal in politics. We don't have the same number, the representation, the pay. So now I'm really going to get a tough with the question here. How do we count on you to advocate for the details like that? Right. I mean, you're both great men, you're good men, you do such good things in your communities, with your partners, with your families, in public and private life. But what do we need to do to, like, you know, actually have the facts and the stats back up where we need to be?
Well, I'll speak from a sports perspective. I think about, obviously, as, you know, the Super Bowl is a big game, right? All those moments are huge. You know, I take also, obviously, what I loved to see last year was when the women's soccer team stood up.
Yes.
And I think, you know, when you think about the women's soccer team and all the great players they have, I mean, the women's soccer team, women players, they may be better than men's almost. They got so many great players. And so the reality is that, you know, they need to have the same opportunity. And you think about how many people watch that soccer game. I'm cheering, me and C are cheering as loud as we can for those girls, and that matters. I think also in terms of the television networks, I think they have to pay attention too. You know, I'll take WNBA for example, as you mentioned. You know, when the WNBA draft comes around, we don't really know about it, right? We don't really see it on TV. It's not really a prominent thing. So as a result, people don't know, hey, you know, where is the Seattle Storm playing today? There's not enough marketing behind it, and I think that from a television standpoint, I think if we really want to make a difference financially, because there has to be finances behind it to pay the players, and which matters, right? There has to be more effort into that, and I think that's how we help the women. I think that's a really, really important thing, and you know, the CBSs and the NBCs and the ABCs and all those ESPNs and all that. I think that's our opportunity right there, and realizing these are great players. I mean, these are great athletes, like one of a kind, and that they should be respected that way.
And we need to tune in, and because we need to watch, we need to care, we need to want to see it, and then show up and buy the tickets to go, right? So.
And when a man's in power, just do the right thing. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
If you're controlling the dollars, just do the right thing. And Mary Jackson from Hidden Figures, she hacked into the NASA computer and actually showed how people were not getting paid the same amount of money and took that to the leadership to say, what's going on here? I have a degree in engineering, just like that man does, but I'm making less money. So making it transparent that you're not making the same salary.
Yeah.
And then having the men do the right thing.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And I think about that. Oh, last question. What? We
just got started.
So many more questions. Before we go, I did want to ask you, because you're about to become a father, yes, and Sierra is not far off. And I think about that. I think about fathers, and I just am curious if you have sort of some advice to fathers out there, but also for yourself. What are you thinking about when you're about to?
Well, I'm so excited. Obviously, you know, I have a little stepson too. So, you know, I was telling somebody the other day, loving a stepson or stepchild, there's no greater love. Mm-hmm. You know, to love somebody that's not your own, but to love them like they are. And I think that's an amazing thing. So I've really learned how to change diapers and do what I need to do to keep it moving and go to the store when we need to go to the store on time. You know, I think that for me, I just want to love like my dad loved me. Yep. I want to love like my mom loved me. And I think that as men, it's our responsibility to show women how to be loved. You know, I think it's our responsibility to show our young boys, yep, how to love women. And that's the only way we fix one thing at a time, one person at a time, one heart at a time.
Amen. That's beautiful.
Preach, brother. Preach.
Thank you so much, you guys. I wish we could talk all day.
I wish we could too.
There's one man missing who couldn't be here today, but we all love him dearly, and before we go, we're gonna watch his Makers video. It's John Legend, who I owe such gratitude to for being my partner in all these years and for seeing something in me that I think not everybody would have necessarily seen, and for helping empower me. So for that, he's one of our Makers men, along with these two incredible men. Thank you so much.